Hello everyone and welcome to another Quarrier pregame show brought to you by the Local Best. It's where to go before you go, localbest.com. Colin Beckler, Matt Larson with you once again as we get ready for Quarrier football. And we've got the Vermilion Tanagers coming to town tonight. Before we get to previewing tonight's game, let's talk about last week, Colin. And as I was watching, it seemed like it was a back-and-forth battle between the two teams most of the game, but it comes down to another response by Dell Rapids there in the fourth quarter as they went in for the game-winning touchdown after Sioux Falls Christian took the lead. So your thoughts on what you saw last week?
Yeah, I think the one thing you can say and sum up this game is the Quarriers kept their cool, right? You don't panic. We converted on some key third downs and kept the ball. And, we weren't down for that long. It was just a temporary thing, and we kind of played this 2-point conversion, having them to have to score twice, down by 9 at some points, which is kind of why it was a different type of, score. But you know what? It really put to the test that the Quarriers, again, faced adversity, didn't panic, and really, persevered through it and got the win.
And that leads us into Class 11A. I know we've talked about it the last 3 weeks on our pregame shows, and it seems like every week it's hard to know what to make of this class. Both the coaches and media poll have the top 5 teams the same. Madison jumps to number 1 this week, Canton 2, Dell Rapids at 3, West Central at 4, and then Sioux Falls Christian stays at 5. But a couple of games last week that kind of surprised me is the way that Madison really beat Canton by 16 last week. And then Vermilion, the team that we're going to see tonight, a road win at Lennox during Lennox's homecoming. So What are you seeing on Class 11A?
Well, and that, just to hear about it, the Madison-Canton game wasn't even close. I mean, that was a last-ditch effort, last score by Canton to even make it that close. And then you look at Vermilion, watching film on them, they are getting better week after week. And this is by far going to be a test for our kids, and I'm looking forward to this. Should be a really good game.
Well, let's dig into tonight's matchup of the Quarriers and Tanagers. Dell Rapids on a 4-game winning streak, 4-1 on the season. Again, 29-22 over Sioux Falls Christian last week on the road. Vermilion comes in at 3-2, but that 21-7 win over Lennox last week. So I look at this game here as, I don't want to say it, but I'll ask it, could this be kind of a trap game for Dell Rapids where, okay, you've had a couple of good wins, good tests with Lennox and Sioux Falls Christian. Madison's on the schedule next week. How do you make sure that the kids focus tonight on Vermilion?
That's a really good question, and I'm sure the coaches have a plan for that, but ultimately it comes down to the kids. I think tonight's game is going to start out really fast. But not for the Quarriers. I think Vermilion's going to come in here and just want to push, run the ball down our throats, and just try to take control of the game early, which, there we go. The Quarriers may have to face some adversity again, but, it is a 4-quarter game. So, but I think Vermilion's going to come out and, have something to say.
Well, the one thing that we haven't had to talk about at all this season is the weather, and so let's mention that tonight. We've had a couple of days of some on and off again rains, maybe a little bit later tonight, maybe not real sure. How does the weather and the wet and the rain maybe impact tonight's ball game?
Thinking about that, it's like, well, how wet is the field? Do you run more or do you pass more? And I really don't think you know until you get on the field and you start playing. Is the ball going to be slippery? Is it really that wet? Where are you at in the field? Sometimes the middle gets a little chewed up on days like this. So it's going to be, I think, a game time alteration of your offensive plan.
Well, now we've got, again, Vermilion, Dell Rapids, keys to the game tonight. Let's start with Vermilion. What are you looking for Vermilion to do here?
Well, they have a new coach this year. And so he implemented a complete new offense. And they do have 21 returning letter winners, and they have a lot of seniors. They're very experienced, and their offensive defensive line, they're big kids. And watching that, they're a 50-50 pass run. They do way better running the ball. They have those big linemen, lead blockers, and you'll see the quarterback do a lot of draws. They're 100% shotgun, and just watching, they're very impressive running the ball. But for keys to the game, number one is to run the ball. I think that's where I saw that they had their biggest success. And I would say on the passing, maybe 25% completion. So definitely keep the ball in control with them. I believe they need to flush Austin out of the pocket. We've seen it before. He is good on a planned rollout. It's good. But if he gets flushed out of the pocket, then he loses his receivers, and then he's being chased. Not that he can't outrun them, but it's just you're going lateral versus downfield. And also, with the weather, I think one of the keys to the game is Vermillion needs to have the ball. So create turnovers, rip at the ball, try to do things like that.
Now for Dell Rapids, we mentioned again 4-1, 4 straight wins since that opening loss at Canton. What do they need to do tonight to keep that going?
Good question. Watching on film, the way they cover our receivers, the middle is wide open because they have a safety just to cover one, and they float him to either side, the strong side normally. So those, drawbacks and, pass over the middle, that'll be key. It's what I have. And the linemen, they need to hold their blocks tonight. You're having big kids. They may be bigger, faster, stronger, but you need to somehow get in their way to give time. And you may see one of our most successful plays is that counter right kind of off tackle. Landon Rusink runs that. That may be a little tricky tonight with big offensive linemen. And also, the last thing is field position. Try to keep them so they always have a long field to go. I think that's going to be a big key, is where are they going to start their offense.
Well, as we head into week 6, we're getting towards the end of that season, and we're going to have some, bang-ups throughout the season. What about tonight do you know about the Quarriers?
Injury-wise, I'm not sure. I believe everyone's back. We had Chase Jones. He was all wrapped up last week, his game back, and that's just a soft cast with, wrap around it. But he did really well last week. He, had a lot of tackles with that thing, so he's back. I'm not sure other injuries on the team, so we'll have to wait and see who dresses. Well,
that's good. That's good. That we know that there aren't any major injuries that are keeping kids out, so it's good to be that healthy here towards the end of the season here. So before we get our final predictions in, any other thoughts here on tonight's game?
Well, I hope we have a lot of people in the stands. Bring your blankets, bring something to dry the bleachers off. But there's nothing better than high school football on a Friday night. It's a home game, beautiful. It might be a little rainy, but the temperature's not bad. I looked at the forecast, 3 to 5 mile an hour winds, so that's not going to be a factor. But we need people in the stands to cheer these kids on. That always helps. So I hope more people come tonight. We say that every week. Yep. We love broadcasting. We love that you watch, but get out there if you can. It's a great time, great atmosphere out there. So again, we encourage you to come out to the game tonight. And as always, if you can't make it, we'll be broadcasting the game. So with that, final prediction on the score for tonight. Well, I think it's going to be a good game because you'll be with me calling the game, so that'll be easier for me. But this was a tricky one. I went back and forth watching film. Like I said, Vermillion's playing really well. But still, I think the Quarriers just have it together, and I predict Dell Rapids 28, Vermillion 14. How about you? You know what, as I was thinking here, as you were reading through the keys of the game, I'm going to go a little bit higher score, I think, and a little closer. Okay. I'll go 32-26. I think the Quarriers are going to win by a touchdown here tonight. Okay. All right, so with that, again, be sure to tune in at 7 o'clock. If you can't be out there at the game, both Colin and I will be there. Kickoff again, 7 o'clock, right here on Big Sioux Media.